Hello, good evening, everyone. Hi, this is Dr. Latimer here, and I am super excited. We're on day 3 of me doing a mini series on the importance of living a value-based lifestyle and learning about your core values and how to really walk out just having emotional stability, mental stability, and living a lifestyle that you actually want to live according to your core values and how to discover those. So for today, I let you guys know, I think it was a Monday. I think Monday I shared that this particular live was going to be about discovering. See, I did like a lot of discoverings this time, right? Discovering how to recognize imbalances in your life and how to start setting boundaries. We hear about boundaries. Boundaries are super important if we want to be able to live our life according to our value system. You're going to have to put some boundaries in. The last couple of days, yesterday, we spent a lot of time really workshop style on how to discover your core values. And I did a whole session on identifying core values, how to get it down to about 3 to 5, and what it looks like just to really be reflective and insightful with yourself to discover those. So I really encourage you to rewatch day 2 if you have not, and to also grab the PDF that I have that will help you with that. And day 1 was all about the importance of living a value-based lifestyle, like why you want to learn what your personal value system is, how to develop one, and how that can really help your well-being, your legacy building, your priorities, your mental and emotional state by being aware of your core values and actually living them out on a day-to-day basis. So, as I had mentioned, I am working on a new coaching program that's called It's Time to Prosper. So it's all about learning how to have a prosperous soul. It's not about just, this is my season for joy or my season for peace. This is a program that's designed to walk you through a whole year of truly developing core values, learning how to implement them on a regular basis, and to get your soul to a place that no matter what the external circumstances are, your internal atmosphere is at peace. It is able to resist the temptation to be driven by your emotions because you learn how to have internal control and allowing the peace of God to rule in your heart. And that takes time. It takes support and really having carved out time on a regular basis on discovering who you are today in this particular time in your life and how to walk out the characteristics that God wants to see you walk out and to walk them out well. So as a Christian counselor and coach, I am definitely here to support you in that endeavor. I have worked with so many women and men, and I'm telling you, when we really walk hand in hand, the results have just been so amazing to see people really flourishing for the first time, a lot of times in their lives, and really understanding who they are, being able to truly hear God's voice again, or for the first time, and actually living out the principles that He wants for them. So I want that for you. So if you feel like you may be interested in having someone walk alongside you this year, please reach out to me. My calendar will be open this weekend for us to talk, and let's just have that conversation. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into today's. This is like a little workshop still too, not as workshop as yesterday, but I actually wrote a book over the summer is when it actually came out, and it's called The Blossoming Soul, A Christian Woman's Guide to Mental and Emotional Harmony. Yesterday I talked about me not being big on balance. I'm all about harmony, and it's a self-guided workbook, but in here I have a really cool worksheet that is called Wheel of Life. And so it's going to go over 8 different areas of your life, and you score yourself how well you feel like you're doing in these different areas. So I'm going to give you the 8 areas so that you can jot these down. I also will provide this worksheet if you would like to have a copy of it. And my suggestion is, if you get a copy, to please print it out, because it works best once it's printed and you actually feel it physically, and then I'll show you what one filled out looks like. But here are the 8 different areas, because I want you to even start now while we're talking today, thinking about them. The 8 areas are: number 1 is your health, 2, friends, 3, relationships, 4, recreation, 5, spirituality, 6, career, 7, finance, and 8 is personal growth. Now those 8 are in no particular order. That's just, they're in a big circle on here. And once again, that's health, friends, relationships, recreation, spirituality, career, finance, and personal growth. So those are going to be your 8 areas for the Wheel of Life. Now, the reason why I am using this as an option for us to learn what are our imbalances, because we could say, oh, I just work too much, or I'm so tired, or I don't know what's wrong with me. I got so many things going on that I know I need to fix, and you just can get stuck and not knowing what area you should work on first. Because one thing for sure is if you try to start working on every single area that you think is out of order or not exactly where you would like to be, you will not get the type of results or traction that you want to get. You can't just work on everything all at one time. You have to really prioritize what areas of your life you want to focus on first. So this Wheel of Life exercise will help you with being able to prioritize. And this is how. Once you have those 8 and they're in this circle, like I said, please get a copy of this for me. Just print this out. It really works being printed. There's going to be 10 lines here, and you're going to score each area of your life on a scale of 1 to 10, how fulfilled and how well do you believe that particular area is going. So like, okay, in my health, I'm about a 4. In my relationships, I'm about a 2, or maybe you feel like you're an 8. Doesn't matter. You're just going to score it according to, honestly, in your own heart, how do you feel you're doing in these different areas. One way to do that, like I love colorful pens and color pencils and all that kind of stuff. I am a creative at heart. Now, if you're the type of person who wants to keep it simple, just a simple black pen, that's fine. You do you how you want. But I love color. So the example I gave here, and these are not like my real answers, y'all. These are just examples. These are examples. But as you can see over in here, like personal growth is pretty high. Spirituality is like, whoo, I'm at a 10 here. But look over here, which is this one, recreation. Oh my gosh, it's like scored as a 3, meaning like I'm not doing things that are fun, that I may really enjoy to do. Like I'm not spending a lot of time in the fun department whatsoever, or like in hobbies. Over here, it looks like it's like maybe a 3 in the health department, personal growth around the 8. So you kind of get the picture. When you color these in, you can either use one color, multiple colors, however you want to do it. You'll start to get a visual depiction of these 8 areas of your life. And what areas do you see that are clearly lacking compared to other ones? So you may say, I really need to grow in my walk with God, and you're scoring yourself out about an 8. But if you recognize that your health is a 2, hey, Joanne! If your health is at a 2, well, the truth is it looks like we need to maybe hone in and focus on your health. So if you're doing well with God, but your health is lacking, you're not disciplined in your health, then this shows you where to start the conversation with God. I really love the Wheel of Life because this helps you with, okay, Lord, this is how I'm scoring myself. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm sensing. And you need visual depictions of this at times. And now you know where to start your conversation with the Lord. It's like, we really need to work on this health. Or let's say you have a couple of areas that are ranking low. Maybe you have 2 or 3. Well, then now you have those 2 or 3 that you can go before God, seek his face, and then let him reveal to you what is the area that you need to focus on. You may think it's finance. I need to really work on my finances. I am just not living my life where it should be. And he says, actually, the issue is that you don't have friends. You are not positioning yourself in a place to actually build healthy relationships. So you think it's about your money, but really relationships is the area that you need to be spending more intentional time with me about gaining guidance on how to move forward and building healthier relationships in your life. And the cool thing about the Wheel of Life, y'all, this is so fast. You can fill this out in less than 10 minutes. Yesterday, now if you watched yesterday's live, you know I told y'all you need to be committing like 3 hours to this core values exercise that I was giving you. Wheel of Life, not even 10 minutes. It does not take a long time for you to score these 8 areas of your life 1 to 10. It doesn't take a lot at all. But the revelation knowledge about yourself and your life that you can gain very quickly is helpful, because then it lets you know, okay, well, what kind of coaching do I need? What kind of help or support do I need to have? What kind of books should I be ordering now? Okay, it's the beginning of the year. What Audible books should I be listening to? What kind of podcast should I turn on? What kind of sermon should I be trying to focus on? Well, you should focus on the areas that are the most out of whack, or where you have an imbalance in your life. All these circles may never be fully all exactly the same out of 10, but you know when something is just grossly out of order when you see it, something like this. Another way some people do this is they will put dots, and then like they connect all the dots, and you'll be able to see how unlike a circle the 8 areas of your life are. Because when I think of harmony, things are harmonious, they flow together. So if it looks all jagged and weird and not like a nice smooth circle, well, then we know there's some areas that we need to work on. So that's just a really quick way for you to be able to learn some of the imbalances. And so now, yes, the template will be available online. It's in my book, but I'm going to just pull that particular worksheet out and I'm going to attach it to this live. So that way you guys can have it, or I can DM it to you, either way. But you got to have it. It's just so easy. It's just so easy for you to be able to use. Now, what I want to discuss with you a little bit really quick, get my notes up here. We got to talk about boundaries. We have just got to talk about boundaries. So once you have identified your core values, you recognize like, okay, like I really believe this is the value system that I'm supposed to have, or at least I know these are the things I don't want to be doing. Okay, well then how do we start defining what boundaries really look like? And especially boundaries as a Christian. We'll just leave it there, boundaries as a Christian. So number one, I don't know if we're doing this often, but are we actually reflecting on biblical principles? Just biblical principles in general. If you could do a literal Google search on this, like, okay, give me biblical principles to live my life by, and see what Google even pulls up. Sometimes we're doing Bible studies, like more like verse driven, like the just shall live by faith or something like that, versus reading full chapters or taking into account different stories in the Bible and paying attention to what were the leadership qualities that this particular person was using while they were in the situation that they were in. So we want to start reflecting on biblical principles. Another one is a real simple one, is pray. Pray for guidance. Like ask the Lord, how do I create a boundary in this particular area that seems to be an issue? How do I create boundaries with myself around my eating habits? How do I create boundaries around not being a people pleaser? Lord, will you reveal to me what does it mean to be a people pleaser? Because sometimes I think I'm being a good steward, or I'm just loving my neighbor the way I'm loving myself, which is not typically the case. Because if you want something in return, or if your motive, if you do something for someone, this is a good test. If you do something for someone and you have an expectation that when you're in another situation or something similar, for that person to do the same thing for you, where reciprocity is like that of highest order, you need to be careful, because your motives behind what you're doing for people could be off. It may not be as pure as you think that they are. And so that's a heart check situation, because if you're always frustrated and irritated when people don't have your back the way you had their back, we need to be careful and make sure that our motives were not out of alignment. at certain times. So we want to pray for guidance. Another one is you want to define your limits. Sometimes we do, and 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 we do. And we just have not actually decided in ourselves, like, you know what, this is the limit. So I'm a giver. I love to give. I just love to give. Someone's in a bind, I want to help, all these type of things. But that can wreak havoc on your money management plan. Some of y'all have budgets. I don't do budgets. I don't like the sound of being limited. But on your money management plan, you may need to set aside and say, okay, I know I love to give. This is my seed account, or this is my charitable offerings to people that I love and know. I am setting aside 20% of my money management plan to go towards giving in all of its capacities. This is not your tithes and offerings for church. This is not that. This is money on the side that you have purposed in your heart, that if someone needs something, a light bill, a car payment, something's wrong, they're stressed out, they need nail money, whatever it is, God put it on my heart to give somebody something. I have asked God ahead of time in my money management plan, Lord, how much can I set aside for giving purposes when my heart feels compelled to give something to someone? If you do that up front with the Lord and you ask him to create that border, God loves borders. He's very clear on giving us parameters. He will give you a number. He may say 30%, 10%, 5%, or it might be a dollar amount, maybe not a percentage amount that you have set aside for that urge that you have to support and help other people in a way that is not hurting you. Because sometimes we're giving to the place that we're hurting ourselves. And then we're looking at God like, God, I don't have. And he was like, but I never really told you to give. That was your impulses that was doing that. That wasn't you being led by the Spirit. So yeah, the Lord will hedge our lives in. He's a hedge of protection in a lot of areas. So this Joanne's my girlfriend from college. I love her so much. But my point being is that God will give you very clear instructions on how to define your limits. It could be a friend that, they're just a little on the negative side. You love them, but they always are just a little team petty, or they're not interested in growing in this season of their life. That's just not what they're trying to do. It does not mean that you cannot be their friend, but you may need to limit how much interaction you have with them. You may need to limit what information you're sharing with them. God will reveal that to you. You have to learn your limits. If you are valuing personal growth, if that's part of your value system is growth, and you know that growth is not a part of theirs or a relationship that you're trying to be in, and you can tell this person does not value growing, well, then we need to put some limits and some boundaries around your interactions with that person, because you are not going to get to where your heart desires and where God wants you to get if you are unwilling to create limits to how much access people have to you and information that you are giving them. Another way that we start to create boundaries in our life is to communicate clearly. You cannot get, like a closed mouth does not get fed. And if someone or something in your life seems like it's out of order, sometimes it's just because of lack of communication. You just assumed that this person knew X, Y, or Z, and your assumptions are getting you in trouble. Stop trying to assume that people can read your mind. People are not mind readers. They're not mind readers. And if they are, you need to leave them alone, because psychics are not from God. So if they are mind readers, you really need to move, because that's a demonic spirit. But I don't really want to go preachy with y'all like that. But my point being, make your communication clear. If you're a type of person who typically does not like to rock the boat or be direct, pray and ask God for boldness and a way to articulate your boundary or your needs the way you need to, in order to make sure that everybody is on the same page. Because the way you define things could be different the way someone else defines it. So you want to make sure that you get on a common ground. This is with coworkers, relationships, your children, your parents. As you're growing, try your best to get on the same page. Make sure it's clear communication, even with how much interaction you're asking from your parents. Like, as an adult, you may want to live your lifestyle differently than the way your parents want you to live it. Well, you need to have clear communication around what's appropriate and what's not appropriate now that you're an actual adult, if you are taking care of your own life. Now, if you got your parents taking completely care of you and you're not really adulting, that's another conversation for another day, and we won't talk about that. Another way to create boundaries, y'all are saying funny things in the comments, and I'm certain that it's my husband in here putting funny stuff because he's that guy in the comments, but it's all good. It's all good. It's to seek wise counsel. If you don't know how to create a boundary or set a limit for yourself, seek wise counsel. Not just people who are in the same boat as you, but wise counsel. People that you know walk with God, you know for a fact can hear his voice. Seek counsel from them. If you can't talk to them directly, find a book, find a podcast or something of that nature that you can listen to. But ideally, ask God to reveal to you people in your life who walk in a level of discernment and who actually can hear the voice of God and has been tested and proven in their life that they can hear the voice of God, and ask for their support and different ideas on how you can create the particular limit or boundary that you may be struggling with in certain areas. Another one is practice saying no to all my people pleasers. As I mentioned before, I am definitely a former people pleaser. And so practicing no is so hard when you want to just help. You want to be considerate of other people, especially if you have the skill set to be able to do. You have to learn how to just say no. And it feels very uncomfortable. It feels mean. It feels icky on the inside for some of us. But the more you say no, the easier it becomes. Even if this is at your job where people usually just ask you to pick up extra tasks, practice saying no. Practice saying, no, I'm sorry, I'm not able to do that today. And if you can practice saying no without saying that you're sorry, because the truth is you're not, and you really shouldn't label yourself that way, and just say, hey, I'm unable to do that for you. However, and then try to give them another option. Maybe ask Jan. Jan may have some time. Maybe do this, maybe do that. But it is extremely difficult to say no, especially if you feel like you do have the time, you just don't want to. Did you know that that's okay? You can say no just because you don't want to do it. It does not have to be some really big excuse of why you don't do something. So just practice no in the small areas. And when it's time for a bigger no, it's much easier. It is just much easier to say no once you practice in small places. Now, here's another one that I really like, and that is to respect other people's boundaries. So sometimes, have you ever seen that person in a family who just says no really easily? It's like, oh, no, I can't do that. No, I don't have time. And we tend to judge the family members or the people in our lives who say no with no problem and feel like they're selfish or self-centered or they're not a team player or they're a narcissist. I mean, people give all kind of labels to people who are willing to create boundaries and hold them. How about if you would like to be able to learn how to build boundaries, is that you respect other people's boundaries and not shame them on the inside. Because you might not say it to them verbally, but you're shaming them on the inside. And yet you're wore out from always saying yes. So it's really important to value and respect other people's boundaries. And you can learn a thing or two from the people in your life who are willing to say no. I'm not saying you have to say no all the time, but be led. A lot of times we're not even checking in with God on whether we should do something for someone. We just do it. And then we wonder why we're exhausted and we're irritated. Because you know how you start helping people, but then you have this like irritation that comes. You're leading yourself towards something called compassion fatigue. And it's a real thing. Compassion fatigue is a real thing. And the way we safeguard ourselves from compassion fatigue is by learning how to create boundaries, setting up time for soul and self-care. The last thing that I got two more. Now, I'm I'm not telling y'all the truth. I actually have 3. The last 3 things on here is be prepared for challenges. So people are going to misunderstand what you're saying. People are going to feel like you're being rude, especially if this is not typically your normal. So be prepared for people not understanding that you're making this shift. And I want to encourage you in that you can make a shift in creating boundaries for yourself without coming across rude and nasty. Now, the reality of it is you cannot, what's the word I'm looking for this? You can't control how people perceive the changes that you make in your life, but you can ask God to give you words that are seasoned with grace. So even if you are not able to meet other people's needs the way you typically would, you are able to say it in a way where you can absolve your conscience from any guilt for saying no, because you know that you checked in with God first and he gave you the words to say. He showed you, hey, you've been working 60, 70 hours. It's time to cut back the hours. Hey, I know you love working at the church and you're always there every time the door is open. And anytime someone needs extra hands, you're present. But for the next 2 months, I need you to sit yourself down for a little bit and not serve to the capacity that you typically would serve, because I want to talk to you. So I want you to think of when you're saying no, when you're creating these boundaries, that you are creating space for God to minister to you personally, which helps us go into the next thing, which is relying on God's strength. We're doing a lot of things out of our own human effort and human will and not relying on the strength of God. So if you give him space, when I say no to working that extra event, like typically I might work all the events and I say, you know what? I'm going to sit back on this event. I'm not going to serve. I'm not going to be the host or whatever the case may be. Well, now you're opening up that space and say, Lord, I'm inviting you into that space. I typically would be working this event for 3-4 hours. I want to give this time to you. What do you want to share with me? What do you want me to read? Where do you want to go? Take yourself out on an artist date. Do something that feeds your soul and gives God space to speak and to minister to you through rest. Rest is not your enemy. Rest is very, very important, and it actually helps you to be a much better human being to people when you take time to rest. So just because you go to bed, that sometimes is not a lot, and that's not enough. Sometimes you need to allow yourself a new creative outlet or space to be a part of. There may be music that you need to listen to, art that you need to create, a friend that you need to call that you haven't gotten a chance to call, a letter that you need to write that you haven't had time to write because you're always just so busy. Taking time to allow God to show you how to fill your space with something different than just always serving other people is very important. And the very last piece of this is to regularly reevaluate, because every season of our life has different things that we're capable of doing. So in some seasons it is go season and you can work the 60, 70, 80 hours and you can say yes to every engagement that comes because you've got the juice, you've got the energy, you can feel God breathing on that and just opening up doors of opportunity, and it's your go season. But there are certainly other times where it's just not your go season. And it is the time for you to scale back and reevaluate. What have you signed up for? What are you a part of? What title? What group? What are you doing with yourself? What are you doing with yourself? Are you still, I've been saying this every single live, are you doing things that God has led you to do? Or are you allowing your responsibilities, your obligations, and the needs of other people around you to dictate your time and your priorities? And then you wonder why you got an attitude sometimes. But in your obligations, that's another one. It's like, I'm obligated or I have to. No, you don't really have to. And we could go back and forth with that, but we can go back and forth personally. We don't have to go back and forth like here. But just know most of the things that you think that you have to do is self-imposed. And so the only person that you can blame really for your exhaustion is you. And sometimes that Doesn't feel really good, but it's the truth. But here's the beautiful thing. It can be changed. It can be changed by you taking the time to evaluate your own life, check out where some imbalances are, and then sit down with the Lord, with wise counsel, and say, okay, what kind of plan are we going to put together here to get myself out of this position? So tomorrow's live is all about the practical ways to implement everything that you're learning about yourself. It's like, okay, I got the core values and I see my imbalances. Now what? Tomorrow's all about action plans of the now what. So yeah, that's all I got for tonight, y'all. How y'all doing? How you feeling? Please give me your thoughts, comments, concerns. Put them in the chat. I'm going back to to read all of them and comment. I'll make sure I put the link up there for the worksheets like this one, and also the PDF exercise from yesterday. If you want a copy of that, please just say, like, give me a copy and I'll send you all the things. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? My calendar link will be on here too. So please book time with me this weekend if that is something that you feel like you need to do with your life. And if you're one of my friends, just text me, because y'all know you can text me if you actually have my number. Text me. You don't need a book on the calendar for that unless you're trying to get into this coaching program. Then you book, okay? Then you book. But if you're my friend and just want to talk to me, text me. But I love you guys. This has been fun. Can I give y'all a secret? I'm going to give y'all a little secret. And then I really am going to go because I don't like to keep these too long. I did not know what I was going to talk about for any of these lives. I just put little subjects down like, okay, Lord, let's talk about this, this, and this. And then I hit the live button and let God fill my mouth. So anything that you are hearing right now, it is strictly coming from the Lord for you right now. But I love y'all. Just know that the Lord loves you too. And I look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow and getting on some of these calls. Love y'all. Night, night.